made their sacrifice now. Tell me what you think about equal rights for all, everywhere. Say what you think, what you think, what you think, what you think about justice. What you know, what you know, what you know, what you know about love. Why all the segregation, all are but one nation. Oh, let us unite as one. Let us unite as one. Tell me what you know about love. Tell me what you know about hate that keeps us separated. Tell me what you think about equal rights for all, in every way. Say what you think, what you think, what you think, what you think about justice. What you know, what you know, what you know, what you know about love. Why all the segregation? We all are but one nation. Oh, let us unite as one. Let us unite as one. Oh, love. So many can testify. Love, oh, love. But you still can't satisfy. You keep on praying. You wish that they
15 minutes moving away from the hour of 9 o'clock. Good morning and welcome back to our programming. It's now time for our program Policing with You, coming to you compliments National Bank.
Stop standing in long ATM lines to withdraw cash. Use your national debit or black cards to complete a wide variety of transactions at supermarkets, variety stores, gas stations, pharmacies, and more. Shop online at the most popular websites and stores for quality brands using your national debit or black cards. And take back your time to enjoy all the things that you love to do. Remember, instead of waiting in long ATM lines to withdraw cash, use your national bank cards today.
National Bank, always here.
oh, yo. And wait. Oh, yo. Oh, yo. And wait. Oh, yo. Tell me what you think about Marcus. Tell me what you think about Christ. Made their sacrifice now. Tell me what you think about equal rights for all.
All right, welcome back. I'm your host for this, your moderator for this morning. Elric, I almost take on your job there, buddy.
Yes, you.
Good morning once again.
Good morning.
Good morning.
GQ, good morning, and good morning to those of you listening via radio and or the internet. I am Alwick Edwards, Tactical Commander 2IC, and the host for this morning's program, Policing with You. This morning, my guest is Mr. Abia Samuel, the National Disaster Coordinator and the Chairman in charge of the NEOC. Mr. Samuel, please introduce yourself to the listening audience.
Good morning, and thank you for having me here, Inspector Edwards. And to all the listening audience, via all means, pleasant good morning to you, and thank you for joining us here on Policing with You.
Thank you, Mr. Samuel. This show we take is normal format. Firstly, introduction, question and answer segment, then closing. Mr. Samuel, in your opinion, what is the natural disaster?
Well, a natural disaster is anything that impacts the lives and livelihoods of any state or country that is caused by the natural events of the environment. For example, something that is not caused by man. So in basic words, that's what a natural disaster is.
Thank you, sir. We are presently in the midst of a pandemic. If natural disaster strikes, what is the role of if NEMA, the government, if you can shed some light on
Wonderful question. And yes, indeed, we are in a pandemic. And because of our geographical location in the globe, on the earth, we are susceptible to a number of natural hazards or many hazards indeed. One such is volcanoes, earthquakes, and in particular the main one, the hurricane season, which we all prepare for on a yearly basis. So what does NEMA do? NEMA is the coordinating unit, or what you call the brain cells, or the nerve center that brings together all of society in order for us to mitigate, respond to, and recover from the impact of any type of disaster. Now, NEMA will now apply what the National Disaster Plan, which is in 4 parts. And the plan is what guides the action. It guides the public service, it guides the private sector responsibility and partnership. It also guides the engagement with our international partners so that we could have that level of assistance if we are overwhelmed. So eventually, we have the nerve center, which we call the National Emergency Operations Center, which is inclusive of all of government and private sector, and equally so, our non-governmental organizations, such as the Red Cross and many other around the island. This is what drives the response mechanism. So the response mechanism is that once there is a threat to the country, then the cabinet is advised through the Mitigation Council. The 10 national subcommittees, which are 10 committees chaired by 10 permanent secretaries from within the government, or who them assign or designate to do so, they are the ones who help drive that particular response. So we come together, we advise the Mitigation Council advises Cabinet, and once Cabinet agrees to activate the National Emergency Operations Center, then the National Emergency Operations Center now basically becomes the government headquarters of the country. So everything in the country, in terms of preparing for that impact, is governed by the National Emergency Operations Center.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Samuel.
Yes.
A very comprehensive answer. I like that. This is Policing with You, and you're NEMA. So, can you explain the relationship between NEMA, police, when a hurricane hits or natural disaster has impacted the Federation?
One of the things that is critical for us to understand is that the security forces are everything in the country. They're actually the jack of all trades. They have to be there whether it's medical, whether it's environmental, whether it's social. Police is always involved in everything. Without security, nothing can function. Everything that you do, every risk that is analyzed or applied must have a security component. The former Commissioner Quilly used to always say in lecturing, when a hurricane strikes or is impacting, meaning during the hurricane itself, you might only find 2 sets of people on the outside, police and a thief. Police has been critical in the national response to the pandemic and in any national response to any type of catastrophic event such as hurricanes. The police has to ensure that they secure the assets of the country. The police have to assist with the distribution process of relief supplies. Police has to continue doing the work because one of the things that has been determined, criminals use those opportunities to carry out their activities. So the police have to switch from being police to carrying out humanitarian projects, assisting humanitarian projects, even helping build back the country in cleaning and the aspects of cleanup, in aspects of transporting goods and services, in aspects of providing security for national assets or critical infrastructure. For example, the electricity plants. The police may have to secure those gas plants or stations or bulks. Police will have to secure those. So the security forces play a critical role. As a matter of fact, Inspector Edwards, in the executive of the NEOC, there are 4 critical figures that have to be in that, and that is the commander of the defense force, as well as the commissioner of police. So that's how critical the police are. And just to top it off, when we activate the Emergency Operations Center, the commander for that center is normally a senior police officer from the rank of inspector onwards. That's how critical it is.
Thank you, Mr. Samuel. GQ, let us now break at this juncture for a word from our sponsors. Upon our return, we'll open the lines and solicit calls in from the general public.
Stop standing in long ATM lines to withdraw cash. Use your national debit or black cards to complete a wide variety of transactions at supermarkets, variety stores, gas stations, pharmacies, and more. Shop online at the most popular websites and stores for quality brands using your national debit or black cards. And take back your time to enjoy all the things that you love to do. Remember, instead of waiting in long ATM lines to withdraw cash, use your National Bank cards today.
National Bank, always here. At Nature's Discount, the herbal store on 4th Street, we provide herbal supplements for all your needs. Blood sugar, blood pressure, prostate, liver, heart, kidney, and more. Oils, pure herbal teas, wholesome vitamins, healthy foods, alkaline water, bodybuilding supplements, weight loss and sexual health supplements, even hair and body care products. We support the natural health of the whole family. Get healthy naturally. Call us at 662-5447. Like us on Facebook, Nature's Discount Nutrition Center. Your get healthy, feel wealthy people.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back. Inspector Alec Edwards is our host for this morning, and Mr. Abdia Samuel from NEMA is here in our studio as our guest. I'm your moderator for this morning. The lines are now open, 465-2555, and for those of you overseas, 718-577-2916. Inspector?
Yes, thank you, GQ. Before we break, Mr. Samuel would have answered a question that relates to the relationship between the police, law enforcement officers, and NEMA. Mr. Samuel, can you explain some of the social safety nets?
Right. So, some of the challenges that we have experienced and analyzed throughout the Caribbean region and globally, and here right here locally in St. Kitts and Nevis, is that government must have some social safety nets for the vulnerable groups. For example, there are some of us that can go into our pockets. When you hear, listen, we're going to be impacted. We are under hurricane warning, meaning that we're going to be impacted within the next 24 hours. You and I might be able to put our hands in our pocket and go to the supermarket and buy some stuff. There are persons who do not have that ability. So the state has a responsibility to ensure that these persons are being taken care of. So providing them with supplies, food supplies, for them to be able to weather the storm, that's one of the social safety nets that we have. Another social safety net is, well, there's programs whereby persons receive vouchers, food vouchers on a weekly basis. And these vouchers would assist in that regards. There's also the programs for persons to receive uniforms and books, etc. There are other programs where, depending on what it is, social services that we have seen through this pandemic and during the lockdowns will basically come on board and provide hot meals. For example, persons who are homeless, we have to identify shelters to put them in because we cannot leave them outside. They are human beings and their life has to be protected. So we have to provide housing and shelter for them during this period. You also have to provide psychosocial support to individuals who are going to go through this particular challenge. They may have had this experience in the past, and when they hear that we're going to be impacted, sometimes it takes them into a different type of mental state. And you have to have these social safety nets to be able to provide them with that assistance in preparation for the impact of any storm and post-impact of the storm. And this was evident with Irma and Maria in 2017, in particular in Dominica, where children were traumatized a lot after the storm. So these are some of the social safety nets that are in place to support our people here in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Thank you, Mr. Samuel. You spoke about shelters.
Yes.
So let me ask a question and relate to shelters.
Wonderful.
Can you list some of the shelters in St. Kitts?
Wonderful. That is one of the critical resources that we have to have in country. Persons say hurricane shelter, but they're not hurricane shelters. They are emergency shelters which can be utilized for any type of emergencies. Whether we have persons landing on our shore illegally, like we saw with the Haitians, we were able to activate a shelter and put them in. Our shelters here are listed according to the district. We use the boundaries, the electoral boundaries, as district for NEMA District 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and 8. In Nevis, they use parishes 1 through 5. There's a list that is generated through the Housing and Shelter Subcommittee. And this committee comes together from February, and they begin to do a lot of assessment around the island. They assess the previous list that existed. They go through and do the checks with Public Works and other team members, and then they generate a list. The list can include government facilities, as well as churches and private facilities. At present, the list is being revised, so I cannot tell you exactly this one, but I will ask the general public to visit the NEMA website, NEMA Facebook page, and we will also be posting them via several media houses and so on once we get the approval of those shelters. However, the shelter list from 2020 is the one that we will utilize for now if anything has to happen and we don't get the previous list. For example, I know in St. Kitts, we adopted a policy that we don't use schools as shelters, because in our recovery plan, we want to make sure we get our students back to school as soon as possible. But we use community centers, churches, and private facilities around the island.
Thank you, Mr. Samuel. Are there any calls? Is it?
Yes.
Can I take the first call?
Sure. Good morning. All right, let's try the other caller. Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. JQ.
Yes, good morning.
I have a police matter, very serious police matter, in which I was involved with. The very first day of this month, it was a Thursday, he had an island constable was tipping the piece there by the Chinese supermarket by Wellington Road and Wellington Road opposite the Seventh-day Church. He had an English couple. Didn't want to comply by putting on the mask. I was to the back of the English couple. I then realized the island constable who was in charge was surpassing them and calling who was behind of them. I then asked the officer there, well, why he ain't calling them? He then turned to me and told me, don't study them, they want to comply, putting on the mask so they cannot go into the supermarket. All of a sudden, the two English couple just rushed the man, and start beating upon him and came. So I get involved. I went to the island constable assistance. Well, during this couple, he had was to use the pepper spray. But during that day, I get totally sprayed in me to oil. From then until now, it's like something's taking place that nobody paying me very little attention with the injuries that I incur. For example, he had to take me now to be going to the police station and calling them to find out, well, what they're doing. They then give me a medical examination form to take to the eye specialist at JNF. And only to find out now, I need glasses, I need medication, and I'm being told I got to pay for them myself. Understanding that, I'm slowly going blind.
So what's your name?
Hello?
What's your name?
I will spell it for you because it's very real.
K-O-S-H R-O-Y
Kashoy Tweed. T-W-E-E-D.
What I'll do, so I'll the divisional commander for the division A is Superintendent Henry. What I'll do, I'll relay the information to him, and what's your number? I'll have him call you.
668 2555.
2555. Thank you, sir.
Something to make matters worse, right? Last week, Friday, I went in the station to find out what they're doing. And the police officer who was driving the car to come to the constable, the island constable, to give assistance. He chased me up the station, you know. I know he numbered me and call it on the ear.
Yeah, but I'll make sure that the divisional commander is
Because I slowly getting blind and all I'm here. Sorry, I can't talk to you now. But all these times, I getting blind slowly. I want medication, I want my glasses. I must pay for these things.
So I understand your situation, and this morning's program is not really for that. I will make sure that the superintendent is aware of the incident, and he will give you a call. Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot.
Yes, sir. Right. Are there any more calls?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Good morning, good life.
Yes, good morning,
Yes, morning.
Superintendent.
Inspector.
My good friend,
Inspector Evans.
and
Yeah. Inspector.
oh my God, my boy, dear Samuel.
Damn.
Very good guy. Yes. Mr. Samuel, I got 3 questions to ask. We want to know what Nemo does with the guts then. If they got a committee to make sure that when hurricane time, they make sure that the guts them clean. Because my burning gut, the Westbourne gut, I don't like to see what happening in it, you know. It becomes a dumping ground, and I know that a program was going to clean these guts, especially when hurricane come in. So I call in on public works to get 2 big truck, and you ain't got to go right up by Errol Maynard them, but clean out down below, because that's the garbage you're going to come down the terminal and maybe going the terminal with the lot of mud. You see, this committee, I just farming this committee and putting all kind of society people in this committee who knows nothing about last year. Okay, that's one. The next thing I want to ask about, Alwick, is that why is it when people, civilians got matter and they go to the station, they're running them out the station? It's so bad. The young man come to me and was telling me about it. I read like a red cricket ball, and these things got to done with. I personally feel that those people by the Chinese restaurant should have gone the station. The only restaurant and so that they want to move out of land. Man, come on. If the Rastaman, I understand from other people who
we understand that, and he called us a while ago, and I told him that I will make sure that Mr. Henry is aware, and I will advise have the superintendent to give him a call. The third question, sir. Jamdong, Sylvia?
Yes.
Yeah, the third question.
The third question?
Yes, sir.
Well, where we want to see is that up there, Samuel, we want to see these shelters announcing in the air, and everybody got computer and got, the WhatsApp and them kind of things. The poor people, they need to hearing these things in the house. You know, one speaker radio. Are you go low? Don't go so high. All the big dogs, them got all kind of sets in the place, and they got these things available to hand. The poor people, I must focus on the poor people. Have a good day, gentlemen, and keep it rolling.
Thank you, Jamdong. Thank you, Jamdong. We always encourage your input on the show. You have always supported this show, so continue to do that, Jamdong. You want to attempt the questions that
Sure.
That's related to you?
Yes, definitely. There's one related for you, right? So I'll take the 2. And with very good questions. In terms of the cleaning of the gut, that's an annual exercise, an ongoing exercise that happens every year in preparation for the hurricane season, even during and after. The guts are cleaned by a team, and this team comprises of public works, public health, environment, the planning. Also comprised of my planning officer, NEMA representative, and also for Jamdong to know, we involve our district volunteers for that particular district, who brings the local knowledge for that particular area, and they actually go and do the cleaning assessment and then cleaning And if the guts need some sort of enhancement, like what we see happening at Upper College Street with the gable basket that have been installed in that area to avoid any further erosion. These are some of the things that happens on a yearly basis and ongoing basis. And sometimes you will see that some dredging takes place at the interaction with the interface between the drain water and the seawater there at College Street, right below there, and also West Bungot, to the bottom of West Bungot sometimes, to ensure that the water flow and reduces the possibility of flooding. So that happens on a regular basis. That also includes the drainage systems, which is a combination of public health officers, public works, and also the fire department at times assist in helping to clear some of these drainage so that we could have proper water flow towards the sea and avoid any type of disruption of traffic and flooding, right? So these are some of the things that happen on an annual basis, and they are continuous. We also have the assistance of the agriculture department at times, whereby they will go to these culverts up in the mountainside. And also we have from environment the forestry team that would advise of any type of illegal dumping or anything that is happening up in the mountainside. And also we have persons from solid waste who also do a number of visits in these guts, and they themselves would advise if there's anything that is threatening or that can disrupt the flow of water naturally in these guts and may affect the general population. So this happens on a regular basis. In terms of the shelters, we announce the shelters via all means. We have the communications unit that uses all sources to be able to inform the general public, whether it be social media, radio station, television, and even the ordinary walkthrough. These shelters are also posted around for persons, as Jamdong said, it's not everybody will have these gadgets, and we have to reach to the regular man. And what will happen to we partner with the churches, and the churches themselves also would announce what these shelters are. In the event that we become under the threat of any type of system, and we know we are in the trajectory path of these systems, then we will also begin to announce the shelters per districts.
Thank you, Mr. Samuel. We are presently in our hurricane season,
yes.
And because persons are sort of unaware because we are stricken by a pandemic right now.
Yes.
And so, can you explain or kind of summarize the preventative protocols if a storm is likely to impact?
Okay. All right. So, we uniquely in 2020, 2021, we are under a dual hazard environment whereby we are facing a pandemic and we are still facing a hurricane season, which is predicted to be above average. We have approximately 21 storms that have been named for 2021 Atlantic hurricane season. So far, we have seen that we have had 5 hurricanes already that have taken place. We know the last one, which was Elsa, which passed through the region, and there are more to come. So we have to continue the preparedness measures in terms of your question. Some of the challenges that we're going to have is the sheltering. For example, one of the things that we encourage is the buddy system. And with the buddy system, we ask persons, be your neighbor's keeper. If your neighbor's house is stronger, go by ask your neighbor to allow you to stay there. If not, then you go to a shelter. And when you go to a shelter, it's going to be a different management capability because don't know exactly who may have or who may not have. And that is why this morning we are actually having a knowledge exchange exercise with St. Vincent and the Grenadines because they had a unique situation. They had an explosive hurricane. They had an explosive volcano eruption, and then they would have had an outbreak. They were facing an outbreak at the time, and then on top of that, they would have experienced some flooding. So that is some of the challenges we're going to have to look at. Now, you also have to look at the situation whereby there could be disruption to our food supply chains or destruction to our food chain because then you may have farmers impacted, the crops may be impacted, ships may not be able to come into St. Kitts and Nevis. So therefore, that is why we continue the preparedness message to individuals. What is the preparedness message? Hey, listen, make sure that you have a plan. It starts with a plan. Make sure that you strengthen your house. Make sure that you revise your insurance plan if you have one. If you don't have one, try and get a plan, because at the end of the day, the government or the state may not be able to do everything for you. So if you are able to assist yourself, then we can recover quickly. Then you have to look at having some supplies available for yourself, or having some finances available that you can go to the shop, restock or stock up on some things to be able to carry you through maybe a 7-day period after impact. And that is important, whether it be water, non-perishable items, and medication, which is critical. And it is important to have $10 in the back of your pocket during these times. Okay, so these are some of the things that we need to have. Also, because of the pandemic, the protocols, make sure you follow the protocols, make sure you have sanitization, make sure you have your mask, and most importantly, if you have not vaccinated, please go and get vaccinated. It's very important. It's the only way out.
Thank you again, Mr. Samuel. The question I just asked was impacting. Can you give us some of the fallout post-impact?
Okay. No. If the state does not prepare the people, and the people do not adapt to the behavior that is necessary to deal with a post-impact situation, Inspector Edwards, then the reality is you could put everything in place, and if the behavior is not adequate, then you're going to have social unrest. One of the things that we see a lot from post-impact is that if the people are not, the welfare of the people is not properly taken care of, then we have social unrest. Meaning, imagine a police officer, he just lost his roof, but he has been summoned by the High Command to come and basically join a line to deal with a social unrest or protest or people looting. So in the back of his mind, he has to be worrying about home, but yet he has a responsibility, a duty, a national duty to go and protect the state. So understand the strain that everyone comes under when these things happen. So how do we mitigate against these things? One, again, it goes down to preparedness, ensuring that you look at your plan, that written plan, comprehensively. Where do I go if my home is affected? How do we communicate? Who are the critical agencies? Which are the critical agencies for me to contact? I mean, a lot of persons don't even know the number for a police station. A lot of persons don't even know the number for the health center or even the hospital which is nearest to them. Persons don't even know that the hospital itself has districts. And persons don't even know these basic things. So if you start to write a plan and you start to ask questions, then you will have guidance as to what do we do. But some of the fall-offs is the looting, the potential for social unrest, the potential for outbreaks, whether it be dengue fever and other things. Mm-hmm. You have the potential for psychological impact, where persons, in particular children, might be affected, or the howling sound of the wind, listening to a roof just slowly being detached from a structure and just going, the impact of any object into a home, having to move from their home during the impact into a shelter. These things are traumatizing. So you may end up with some of those fall-offs in terms of what happened post-impact. And also, PTSD is a serious thing for us from the uniform body. I have to say us because, I come from the uniform body.
Yes, sir.
And often, we don't pay much attention to that. That, we are the uniform bodies, whether it be a soldier, a police officer, fire officer, prison officer, nurses, EMTs who have to drive, and other individuals who have to serve while this is happening, and they have to leave their family behind. And so these are some of the fall-offs where persons may end up just, sorry to say, going crazy or shutting down, freezing, and not being able to do their civic duty or carry out their responsibility.
Thank you, Mr. Samuel. I know you have another engagement at 10.
Yes.
But before you leave, before you're asked to close, I realized during total and partial lockdown, person were what people may deem as panic shopping. Wow. Can you shed some light about that? Do you think it is worth the while to just buy stuff, or they should gauge each Prime Minister's press conference and hear what he says before they would shop? Can you shed some light about that, sir?
Okay. there is so much different opinion, Inspector Edwards, based on the cause I was bombarding with, the different engagement that I had from the different class and levels in society, where there were persons who were actually prepared and they anticipated, and they were prepared. There were persons who actually wait on information and then they react when they receive that information. There are persons who just basically want to join the line for joining the line's sake without necessity. So there's a combination, depends on the angle, there's a combination of things that can drive that answer. And it's debatable, as there are many opinions to it. But what is important is this. One, the state providing the information in adequate time for persons to be able to know what to do. That's one. Two, it is very important for persons to start to prepare, knowing what potential threat is there to your environment. For example, if you know that there is the potential for lockdown, okay? If you have it financially, then you can prepare, because there are persons who shop in bulk. There are persons who shop on a weekly basis. There are persons who just don't have the money to shop when they say we're going on lockdown, okay? So we have to take all this into consideration. That is why when this was being considered, one of the things that we advised Cabinet right away is that we're going to have to do at least 100 to 150 care packages per day to assist the vulnerable groups. Beautiful. Two, we have to provide information in an adequate time for persons to be able to act, those that can have the finances or the resources to be able to do the shopping. Three, it's important that persons look at the policies, because you realize that we would have been opening up in between to allow persons to get essential services. So if you look at the policies and listen to the information, once you get it adequately, then you can act accordingly, and the panic shopping would have been necessary. However, I must say to you, culturally and regionally, what we have realized is that no matter what, you can prepare. Once you hear persons, we have a hurricane or we have this happening, you are going to get panic shopping, because we often behave as a reactive society rather than being proactive. Okay, yes. That's the reality. That's what the studies have shown. So our aim is to become a proactive society. That's the only thing, as a small developing state. That's the only way we can remain resilient.
Yeah, beautiful, sir. That's really true. Anything in closing, sir?
I just want to encourage the general public to continue to prepare for the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season. If you have not done so, please continue to do so. We are now nearing the peak of the hurricane season, which begins in the middle of August and takes us to the middle of October, to the ending of October, thereabout. There are only five hurricanes that have passed, so that means that we have another 15 to 16 storms that are still pending. And we are hopeful with the above average categorization of this season that we continue to pray so that we are not impacted. But if we are impacted, I would assure the general public that the state will do everything possible to ensure we have the necessary infrastructure and mechanisms in place to support them. But it's a dual responsibility. The general public has to do their part.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's important. The general public has to do its part. Jiki, I want to thank you, as usual. You're a very reliable moderator. I want to thank my host this morning for coming here. I know he's a very, 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 very infinity, very busy gentleman. I want to thank ZIZ for allowing us to keep this show weekly. I want to thank Jamdang and the other callers who would have called in to lend support to the show. Without their calling, the show is pointless, very pointless. I want to thank everybody again for listening, and see you next week, Thursday.
What you think about justice? What you know, what you know, what you know, what you know about love? Why all the segregation? We all are but one nation. Oh, let us unite as one.